Welcome, everybody, to the You Are Worthy Network. Hope you're having a great start to your week. I don't know about where you're at, but here in Western Tennessee, it looks like fall has finally arrived. Thank goodness. Waking up to cooler temperatures, gorgeous during the day. I think the high here today is like 73, sunny, just beautiful. But I hope each one of you is doing wonderful. And I just want to remind you that you are worthy of love, respect, and success. I love getting to tell you that every time that I'm with you because it's true. And so many of us have had bad experiences or tough backgrounds, and we never want to minimize that. But it's a great reminder that regardless of what you've been through, you are worthy. I'm excited today to bring another guest to you, not just another guest. Julie, who I'll introduce you to here in a couple of minutes, is someone that I know a little bit. We met maybe 12, 15 months ago on a Zoom call with her and her husband and got to know each other a little bit. And we've corresponded back and forth a couple of times. And I really think you're going to like not only her professional background and what she's currently doing, but more importantly, at least I think, you're going to get to know over the next 30, 35 minutes or so, you're going to get to know Julie's heart. And that's what we always want to convey to you guys. So let me jump right in. And you guys know that I always read the bio verbatim. Julie Altemus, a former television host for two Emmy-winning programs in Dallas-Fort Worth area, brings over 15 years of captivating audiences with her engaging presence and insightful reporting. After transitioning from the news industry to prioritize her family, Julie dedicated herself to homeschooling her two sons while pursuing leadership development with the John Maxwell team as a dynamic speaker, trainer, and coach. She is deeply committed to empowering women by sharing her inspiring journey of overcoming childhood trauma to reclaim her confidence in helping others to discover that they too can be victorious and rediscover their purpose. As an entrepreneur coach, speaker, and former podcast host, Julie specializes in nurturing camera confidence, preparing individuals for impact TV appearances, podcast, and video marketing campaigns, all for the sake of sharing their message, product, or service with the world. Residing in Dallas with her family, Julie epitomizes resilience, leadership, and unwavering faith, inspiring meaningful change in individuals and communities. I'm ready to jump in, Julie. Excited to have you. Welcome to the You Are Worthy Network.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. You know, when you were talking about the Tennessee weather, I just have to say, for that few little minutes, I was like, man, he'd be a great weathercaster. You would. You have the voice, you have the look. You sounded exactly like you were telling us about the weather from the news. Maybe that's just looking at things through the lens of a newscaster, but you have all the makings right there. I think you need a career change.
I miss my calling, huh? Too funny. So we read there in the bio that obviously you've spent a lot of time in the Dallas Fort Worth area. Has that been home a long time? Is that originally where you're from?
Always. I was born and raised in Dallas, and there's not very many native Texans anymore. There's so many transients here, as we refer to them, people that come and go quite often, but I'm the real deal. And I might sound Southern to you, but I used to sound a lot more Southern. We'll probably get into that story, but the real deal, born and raised in Dallas, Texas.
I think because I've been in the South, I was born in Richmond, Virginia, but we moved around a few times. Of course, Richmond's the South too. Um, we moved to Illinois in the ministry several years ago, and we're up there for 7 years. And I never lost the accent. I mean, got the Tennessee twang, so I think I recognize it in other people from the South.
You do or don't?
I don't. I don't think I recognize it.
I tried so hard to hide it, being a broadcaster. And I was in an elevator one time in Arizona, and somebody said to me when I was getting off the elevator, where are you from? A stranger, like we weren't having a conversation. He was listening to my conversation with, I think I was with my husband even, I don't remember. And I said, I'm from Texas. And he said, I can tell. And I thought, oh no, I'm a broadcaster. You're not supposed to be able to tell. We don't have accents. The only one that I know about is Maria Bartiromo on MSNBC.
That's funny. Well, some of the ones in the deep South, I don't think they can cover it up if they've been down there a long, long time. Yeah. So you mentioned your husband. How many years married? And tell us about the kids. Tell us all that good stuff.
Goodness gracious. Well, I won't, this is, I would love to tell my story someday because it's a very powerful one. But we have been married 13 years in December. And between us, we have three boys. So he has a son. I have two sons. And one of my son's birthdays, my youngest son, is today. He's 23 years old. So we've got a 23, a 25, and a 20. Is he 8? I'm losing track. He's either 28 or 29. And the oldest one is serving in the Marines.
Oh wow. So with the exception of the one of the Marines, are the other two boys in the Dallas area?
They're local, and my one that's turning 23 today is a professional filmmaker and just wrapped season 6 of The Chosen, if any of you are out there and have been following that. So that's been an amazing journey and an answered prayer for sure for him. And so I also get to work with my son on video and film projects. Sometimes I'm the actor. And then sometimes I hire him because I need him to be my cameraman when I'm coaching other people for their camera presence.
Oh, that's awesome. Whenever I get on here with Julie, I feel like I'm being critiqued. Not that she would ever make me feel that way, but that's what she does. So, I'm always extra conscientious of the camera for sure. So what do you like to do for fun in your spare time, if there is any?
I honestly don't have any spare time. I really don't. But when I did have spare time, I have this is my I don't know what you would call it, maybe prized possession.
Oh, wow. Look
A
at
little
that.
bit, it's a little bit foggy because it's so far away. But I actually was a concert pianist when I was in high school, went to a performing arts school in Dallas. If any of you out there in the audience are from Dallas, it was Booker T. Washington Arts Magnet High School. And I went there just because I was a good piano player. I didn't have any intention of doing music as a career. So if I had free time, I would be over there playing the piano. That's what I love to do. And spend time in my Bible every morning. I guess that can be a hobby for some people. But we're in a funny phase because while most people would be enjoying being an empty nester, I am an empty nester from children as of since March, but I care for my mom who has dementia. And so just working a full-time job, being a caregiver, doing dinner for the family at 6 o'clock, all the things. By the time 8 o'clock comes and you're wrapping up things in the kitchen, it's like, no, I am going to sit on my couch or I'm going to go lay in my bed and watch TV for a little bit and just try to come down and get ready for the next day. And then weekends are just like probably anybody else's on this call, Mach 2 with your hair on fire and you're running to Costco and HEB and grocery stores and personal errands and whatever else, just things you can't do during the week. So it's a tough season. I'm kind of waiting for those golden years, but earlier, sooner. And I don't want to retire. I just want to have some time where I can just pour back into myself. So it's not easy.
What's that saying? Time flies when you're having fun. The older I get, I just say, no, it just flies, period. So you better have fun.
Don't you think whenever we have said this, my husband and I recently, when we wake up on Monday morning, he says, it is so true, we're going to blink and it's Friday. And it's so true.
Mm,
It just goes that fast.
yeah, it really does. Remember that movie Groundhog Day? It feels like that sometimes.
Yes.
But I do want to encourage you that find 30 minutes a week to get on that piano. I can tell you love it, and it looks like a wonderful instrument for sure.
It's
Um, I-
I mean, for all you musicians out there, it's a 6'4" Steinway grand, and it takes up my whole, that's supposed to be a living room. It takes up my whole formal dining room is what I meant to say, not living room. And it's beautiful. And it's because it's a 1921. It's a 1921. It's a very old, but the sounds are just so rich. And so anyway, it brings me a lot of joy to be able to play it when I can. That's what I like
yeah,
to do for fun in a perfect world.
yeah, love it, love it. So tell us a little bit about, I want to get into what you're doing now to serve people. But before we do that, obviously we read it in your bio. You've alluded to it about the news background. Tell us a little more about that. How did you go to school for that? How did you get into it? How long? That type of thing.
So I wasn't one of these fortunate kids that had these parents that were saying, hey, we think you ought to do this, and hey, we think you ought to do that. And let's go visit this college and this college and let's go figure it all out. It was like, oh, you want to go to college? Oh, okay, good for you. I had zero guidance. So I showed up to one college applying for radio, television, film. And the counselor said, oh, you're at the wrong college. If you want to do broadcasting, it's not here because this is more about production and behind the scenes. So I went to a nearby college called SMU and it's enrolled there, and then called my mom and said, hey, just want you to know I went to the wrong college today. So I went over to SMU and I enrolled in SMU. And at the time she was a hairdresser. And I think I probably heard a thud through through
Huh.
through the phone, like, oh my gosh, how are we going to pay for SMU? I just remember wherever there's a will, there's a way. That's what I said to her. Little did I know it was like this mini Ivy League school or whatever. And I just applied to this college because that's where I was supposed to go to learn how to be a broadcaster. The funny thing is, I didn't learn anything at that college about being a broadcaster. I was one class away from being a political science major and one class away from being a history major, because when you're a broadcaster and you're a media specialist, you have to know a lot about political science, which is politics, and a lot about history. And so I applied for my first job to be a broadcaster from a boyfriend, actually, who was an actor here in the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex. And back in the day, there was flyers that would be pinned, on a cork board for openings that they had with the little telephone numbers on the bottom of the sheet that you could, cut or just tear off. That was the thing. I just dated myself right there. And he said, hey, somebody's looking for a program host in the DFW Metroplex. And would this be something that you're interested in? I said, yes, tear off the phone number, quote unquote, bring it to me. So I applied and I didn't know what I was doing, to be honest. I just had the guts to do it. Did I feel confident? No, I didn't. No, because nobody was teaching me how to have presence and to be a broadcaster when I was in college. So I just was one of those people that believed I could do anything. And truly, I had to grow into that mindset because that wasn't always the case. So, but I was willing to fail and I was willing to just try it and see and apply. So I do, and I get the job. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to be a broadcaster. How do you be a broadcaster? So I thought, oh my goodness, I better start paying attention to Peter Jennings on television and Diane Sawyer. And then, of course, the local people on channel 458 and 11, which is all the major networks, by the way, here in Dallas, like ABC, CBS, NBC, etc. That's what I mean by 458 or 11. And so I watched, what did they do with their hands when they were on television? How are they projecting their voice? How did they sound? How do you sound like a newscaster? So I pushed play and record on a cassette player, reading back a news script that I had typed out that I heard off of the 5 o'clock news. And then when I pushed play, it was a terrible thing because I sounded just like this. I had the worst Texas accent you could ever hear in your life. And I thought, you cannot be a broadcaster when you sound like you're straight out of the swamp. So I had I had to relearn how to erase as much Texas accent as I possibly could because I didn't want to be embarrassed on the air and sound like I was uneducated and just wasn't professional. I didn't want to sound that way. So I did what I could back in the day. There was not a plethora of coaches like there is today. So I coached myself really. And I was listening to how they pronounced words and got rid of the accent and figured out how to be a broadcaster in front of thousands and thousands of people every single week. And so I grew up on television, learning how to perfect my craft. And it was embarrassing at first, but I got better at it and better at it. And then eventually our newscast won 2 Emmys, which is what you just had mentioned in my bio. So it was really great. It was not just about the talent that was on the air, but it was also about the production, the stories, the whole production period about the way that the broadcast was put together.
I have so many questions I could ask on the heels of that, but two come to mind. One, how did you train yourself to lose the accent? And two, I don't know how it worked back when you were in the industry, but aren't you contracted to an affiliate for only so long, and then you typically get moved around the country? Or am I incorrect in that assumption?
I don't really know about the second, if you're contracted for a certain amount of time. That wasn't the case where I was. And so I broadcasted for them for about 12 years, but the last couple of years I started to fall off a little bit because I was simultaneously homeschooling my kids, and that got more and more intense. So I did less and less um, broadcasting. I still was doing a lot of broadcasting, but not as much as I had been doing in my earlier years. And then they decided to take a pivot and change all of their programming altogether. And I had a choice to go that route or to move on. And I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to move on, because I was a full-time mom, caring for our children in the house. My husband was flying all over the place as a COO for a company. And so I was doing a lot of stuff alone: football, baseball, church, friends, birthday parties, I don't know, you name it. And so I was really like at capacity, and my heart really I lost my love for the news industry. And I think probably anybody who is watching this interview now could probably see why. We just are in a different place where news is no longer objective, and you hear their points of view and they make fun of the other side, whatever the other side is. And it just got to be kind of distasteful and disgusting for me that I didn't want to do it anymore. And to your first question, I forgot what you asked me.
How did you
Oh,
train yourself to lose
yeah,
the accent?
that's
Yeah.
right. So I was listening to how they pronounced words, and instead of saying window, like they say in the South, go close the window. I'm sure everybody in the North would be like, what did you say? Then I learned, no, it is not a window. It is window. And so just learning how to round out the words and take out things like iced tea. It isn't tea, it's just tea, iced tea, so just really being diligent about the words and the pronunciation of the words that I heard from other broadcasters, and really just tried to do the same, the best that I could possibly do. Again, it's not completely gone, but it's way better than it was.
Yeah, I would imagine you have to be very conscientious, very intentional, and probably beginning out over emphasizing some of those words in the other direction.
Yes. Yes.
Uh, Remarkable. So, okay, what are you doing now? Like, who are you serving now? And how did your experience in the news industry help you serve who you're helping now?
That's such a good question. This is quite accidental who I'm serving now, because I was in a role in the last 3 years where I was interviewing the top 1 to 2% real estate agents in the DFW Metroplex and featuring them complimentary in a magazine, sharing their stories of success. And when I was sitting there interviewing these people, and by the way, to put that in perspective, I say that flippantly, top 1 to 2%, but that is out of 34,000 licensed active real estate agents in the Metroplex. 60,000 of them are licensed. So if you think you have
Mm,
competition where you are, it's very competitive here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So that means these were multi-million-dollar producers. Anybody from that might have done sales volume of 7 million, 10 million, all the way up to 200 million in 1 year are the types of people that I was sitting in front of and I was interviewing. And so oftentimes people would ask me, Julie, how did you get here? Like, how in the world are you sitting here with me right now and you're interviewing me for this real estate magazine? So I would tell them a little bit about my history, and just like a 60-second story, really, because this was really about them. And I had 1 hour to get a story out of them, and I didn't want to spend it on myself. So I would just mention something about coming from the broadcast in the news industry and being a news anchor and reporter. And their comment would oftentimes be the same. Oh my gosh, I could never be on camera. That scares me. I mean, I can talk in front of people all day long. Some people would say that. Some people still are even afraid of being speakers, public speakers, that is. They'd rather die than be a public speaker. But oftentimes they would say, I could never be on video. My coach tells me to be on video because these real estate professionals are all entrepreneurs. So they're getting a lot of coaching from their real estate brokerages telling them, hey, you need to be on social media. You need to be doing YouTube. You need to be doing podcasts or just social media posts or whatever. But I'm terrified. I heard it enough times that it reminded me of a line that from the movie Robots that I used to tell my children to all the time when I was raising them. Hey, see a need, fill a need. Now, it really was a deeper meaning than the joke that I'm about to make out of it. But I used to say, for example, see that trash over there? See a need, fill a need. That means if it's full, pick it up and take it out. Never worked. They were like, not trash boys, wouldn't do it. But it just reminded me of that line when I was interviewing these people, and I thought, I have something that is an answer to their fears. I'm seeing a need that I can fill. And so I birthed my business, Rise to Shine, and it means rise to shine. This is exactly what it stands for. So I started helping people who were video shy get confident on camera, help them with their presence, not only helping them with their presence, but helping them with their video marketing campaigns so that their videos could convert. Because, and when I say convert, I mean to a lead, to a phone call, for an appointment, or you get a customer out of it. Because let's face it, we don't all want to be doing social media all the time. If we're doing it for our business for nothing, if we're getting on there and we're talking about our business on social platforms, we're obviously doing it because we hope to get a customer out of it, or raise our brand awareness, or get a lead out of it, whatever it is that you're looking for, or maybe just have more followers in the case of, say, a YouTube channel. So then that even morphed itself a little bit deeper because more and more people were starting to ask me, hey, can you help me start a podcast? Can you help me with talking on my podcast, my presence? Can you help me with my YouTube channel? I've had lots of people talk to me about their YouTube channels and need some coaching there. Can you help me plan it out, figure it out? What do I say? How do I shoot it? What kind of content do I put on there and all that? So it really did kind of morph itself. So when I started off as a camera confidence coach, but it's turned into media presence, meaning I can help with stage presence. I can help them with their video campaigns or their YouTube or their podcast or whatever. Wherever their needs are is where they're asking me for help.
And would you say that that's mostly individuals coming to you for help, or are you working with a blend of individuals and companies?
Both. So I would say the majority of them are individuals, but I've had whole teams and companies come to me. In fact, I got, like, so far, the highlight of my career so far has been sharing the stage with Zig Ziglar's son just a few weeks ago, Tom Ziglar. And I was talking on stage at a personal development and growth seminar, event, workshop, whatever you want to say, half a day. And I was talking about maintaining confidence and authenticity in the shifting real estate market. But that's the same principles, the same things that I talked about are the same things that I would talk about with Mary Kay folks or other business professionals, real estate teams, and also people that are just one-on-one that need help individually, just, being on camera. But I don't have to give them a rah-rah message. Like, we're getting down to business and I'm helping them with their presence. So it's both, to answer your question.
What does that do to your heart when a client that's fearful, dreading being on the camera, dreading hearing their own voice or seeing their own face, when you work with them and you see a 180 or a 360 in their confidence level? What does that do for you?
When I get to see transformation in people and the light bulb comes on and they understand, Steve, that they are worthy, that they have a message, that they have a product, or that they have a service to share with the world, and they are going to change people's lives if they can only get out of the way of their own selves. It just lights me up because one of the things that I always want people to understand, and it's so great that you would have me on your show today and talk about the worthiness of people, is what I have found is there are so many people that tear themselves down. There are so many people that think, oh, I'm not good enough to be on camera. I'm like a deer in the headlights. Whenever the camera light comes on, I don't know what to say. I stutter and I stammer, and I have this deep fear that other people on the other side of the camera are going to think I'm stupid. They're going to think I'm an idiot. They're going to call me ugly, whatever. Fill in the word. I've heard it all. There's nothing that you're going to tell me that I haven't heard when I'm working with someone one on one. And so I love getting down to the lie that we
Mm,
tell ourselves on the inside. And once I can uncover what those beliefs are within each of us, all of us have them. It's a matter of being aware of them and uncovering them, and what do we do with them? Once I can get down to the lie and the that they're believing about themselves, I mean, it's true what they feel, so I don't mean that's a lie.
yeah.
Mean, what's the lie that we're telling ourselves? Then that's where the real magic happens. And when I can start unpacking those things, and at the end of a session or two or three, and they walk away saying, wow, just wow, I don't feel that same way anymore. My greatest success story that I love so much is this man I was working with in the UK. And when he came to me, he said that he had been in a terrible bike accident. This was even like decades ago, 20 years ago, I think now. And he said, but because I hit my head so hard and had sustained such a brain injury, I don't feel confident about myself anymore. I don't like the way that
Mm,
I look. He had put on weight, but you know what? We would never know that, because to me, he looked trim, slim and trim. Okay, I'm not exaggerating here. Like, this guy was trim. He looked really nice, but he had a bald head, and that doesn't bother me. A lot of women, that doesn't care, but for him, it was the whole world. And he was terrified of camera. Yet he was a photographer who was coaching other photographers how to have multi six-figure incomes, being a photographer, having a photography business. And so he wanted to do funnels, if you know what a funnel is, where you do like a 5-day challenge and you have, people joining you on video for 5 days in a row, and you're doing this challenge. But he was stuck. And in a matter of weeks, not even months. In fact, his testimony was so powerful, I have it on my website. In a matter of weeks, he was completely unlocked. And he was finally doing the thing that he wanted to do, which was his challenges and his funnels. And it just unleashed everything for him. There's just no more barriers. There's no more fear. There's no more fear of judgment from others and fear within himself. He's completely free. And I love that for him. And for me, it just makes me feel like $1 million inside, that I was able to help someone else get out of the way of their own selves, so that they too can understand how worthy they are, how valuable they are, because the world needs to see you. They need you in their lives. They need your message, your product, your service, because nobody else in the world can do it better than you. And you might think that you're not good enough, or that your message doesn't matter enough. But I will tell you, you only need to know 10% more than your average customer in order to be the subject matter expert of anything. And we don't have to think about changing the world. We just have to think about influencing the circle that's right before us. And that's you. No matter where you are in your journey, in the position that you're at in your life, you're worthy, you're valuable. And as soon as you understand that, it unlocks you in the best way possible to be able to influence the lives of other people. And that lights me up on the inside.
see that it does. That's coming shining through. I love that. I mean, a couple of takeaways I got out of that was you love getting down to the lie that people are telling themselves. So mindset, which is huge. Mindset is everything. And then the fact that you only have to know 10% more than who you're working with. And I think sometimes there's a lot of us that think we have to have it all figured out. We have to have X amount of years. We have to have X amount of our program ready before we even talk about it. And that's a lie too. So thank you for dispelling some of those things. And I think this is a great time to, and I appreciate you articulating the word worthy. in here so often. But like if and I know I'm just scratching the surface when I say this, but like 12 years in the news industry, um, got your own business on the stage with a Zig Ziglar's son, right? I mean, these are a lot of very successful things. And that's a whole nother conversation. I hope you view it that way too. Um, but I also know you a little bit, and I know people in general. For you to be able to encourage other people about their worth, there was probably a season in your life where you didn't feel worthy yourself. Would that be fair?
Mhm. Yeah, that's happened more than once, but 2 times very specifically that were very, very, very tough. And I realized that there's nobody else that can pick you up by your bootstraps except you. And once you decide, hey, I'm not going to play the victim, I'm not going to have victim mentality because nobody's going to be able to save you out of victim mentality except you. So you pick yourself up by your bootstraps and you move on and you do what you have to do. The last time I struggled with confidence was probably 13 years ago. Now, there are times in my life that I might not feel confident doing a thing because I've never done it before, but that's different. I'm talking about you just don't feel equipped, but confidence on the inside, I can tell you, a lot of people say you need to have it, you should have it, whatever. But nobody ever tells you how. How do you achieve those things? And I can tell you for myself, now this is my story. I wrote out every single thing that I didn't feel confident about with a scenario that happened to me 13 years ago. And right beside the truth about how I felt about myself, I wrote an I am statement that was a positive statement. By the time I finished, I had 2 pages of I am statements. I am worthy, I am valuable, I am beautiful, I am enough, all the things. I started it off with I am. And I put it on my elliptical because I happened to be using my elliptical almost every day at the time. And so I would put my 2 pages on my elliptical, and every single day that I was on my elliptical, I said them out loud to myself because there's power in the spoken word. It's different saying it out loud than it is saying it to yourself. And so I spoke every single one of those declarations aloud every single day until I believed them about myself. And it worked. Some of those it took me 2 years to believe. Some of them were almost instantaneous within the first maybe, I don't know, a few weeks or a month or so. And others took time to believe. But in the end, I believe them all now.
Yeah, I love I am statements. I love even those statements too, because even though I think I was sharing this with somebody a couple of days ago, even though this is really hard financial season for us, it's not denying the present situation, but you don't end there. Even though this is a very difficult financial situation, I know it's not going to stay this way. Or for me as a Christian, right? I know that my God is going to supply all my needs. And
Mhm.
God is meeting all my needs. And it's not ignoring your situation, but it's making your beliefs, your mindset, in my case, my God,
I know.
bigger than
Yeah.
your current situation. Yeah.
Yes. 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 Yes.
And so for you in those times, say 13 years ago that you alluded to, um, how did faith help you in those times?
Oh, that's where I was getting all of my truth from. I mean, I know there's probably people out in the audience that might not be a Christian. So you take the meat and leave the bones. You know what I'm saying? Even John Maxwell says that on the stage. But I knew what the truth was. I knew that I was valuable. I knew that I was worthy. Why? Because I was formed and I was created in my mother's womb, years ago. I'm not even going to tell you how many years ago. I don't mind telling. I really don't because it shocks people and I love to shock people and be mischievous. That's just part of my personality. But years ago, so I knew that I was purposed, right? I knew that there was a plan for me that was bigger than I could ever think or imagine for myself. And so I knew what was true about me. It was just a matter of me lining up with my own truth about what God said about me was already true. So faith
Yeah.
had a huge role in it. It always has from the time that I became a Christian and started walking with God in the first place. And it's been a while, 25 years, I think.
Wow. Okay. Um, so what's next? What's next for Julie?
You know, I'm going to tell you this thing, but I don't know how it's going to happen. So I went through a season, January to June, where I really did just have to isolate myself and just get really quiet and listen. I don't know if any of you have ever done listening prayers before, but just listen. And I got a lot of messages during my listening season, and it doesn't really matter what I do for work anymore. It really doesn't. It doesn't matter what I accomplish anymore, what certificate I got anymore. It just doesn't matter. To me, what matters the most is sharing the love of God with people, because I want people to know how much they're loved. I want people to know how important they are and how valuable they are. And at the end of my life, if I've done my job well, then that's what's going to make me feel good at the end of the day. It's not going to be another certificate. It's not going to be another opportunity of being on the stage, unless I'm getting to talk about that. I mean, that was fun with Tom Ziegler, don't get me wrong. And I wanted to do things like that again, but that's not filling my teacup the same way as me being able to tell people how much they're loved and how worthy they are and how important they are, and giving them a message of hope.
So having said that, what words of encouragement would you give our viewers to close out today?
Words of encouragement. Don't ever let fear get in your way of you stepping into the fullness and the purpose of what you were meant to do and purposed to do. Because fear, although it might be rooted in something, is a false lie. And when we understand and can identify the lie that we're believing about ourselves, like, for example, I coached a police officer not that long ago. Well, he was a police officer turned real estate agent. He said, I will never put video content out there because those police officers will bust my chops. That's a term they use in the New Jersey or New York or something. They will bust my chops and make fun of me and never let me be myself, or whatever it was he said, something like that. And I didn't say this, but I thought to myself, what a shame, because you're allowing what you think other people are going to think of you and what other people are going to say about you to drive your personal success.
Mm.
And to me, that was a shame that's what he believed, and he was unwilling to change it. I think he's probably the only person that I ever worked with that was unwilling to change. And so my encouragement to you is, don't let that fear get in the way of who you are purposed to be. So put yourself out there, step out there. You have all the power in the world with your little finger. So if you put something on social media and somebody says something that you don't like, you have the power to delete their comment, or you have the power to delete the post if you want to go that far, but you can just delete their comment and not listen to that. I'm all over social media everywhere, and I don't have people saying negative things to me. Doesn't mean that it won't happen, but a lot of us believe things that never happen. So we're all worried about stuff that actually never happens. So if that's you, just don't let that fear stand in the way of being great.
Such good advice. And you don't want to be 5, 10 years down the road and regretting that you're still in the same place, and do it scared. Even if you're not confident, you know how you get confidence? By doing it.
Right.
And so those are such wise words. Julie, we're going to have your links in the description after the show, but where can people find you? And I will say, before you tell us that, I know we have a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of leaders in our group. Grateful for each one of you. So if you happen to be one of those folks that needs to up your social media and your camera presence, Julie's a great resource. I've had the honor of going through one of her, I can't remember what day of the week it was. I guess that doesn't matter, but I think it was a Saturday morning class for an hour, 90 minutes or so. She's really, really good at what she does, and she can really help. And as you've seen today, she really has a heart to help those. So where can people find you if they want to learn more?
So Facebook and Instagram are great places, even Facebook over Instagram. So I think it's Julie Altemus. You know, I have to say, you might find stuff out there that says Jules, Jules, And that's my website, actually, julesaltemus.com. And I'm sure he'll have the right spelling on Facebook for you, because it's not an easy last name. But as a matter of fact, on my website, julesaltemus.com, right when you log on to my website, there's a pop-up that comes up, and there's a free resource if you want to take advantage of it, about camera confidence tips. And so if you need some really good camera confidence tips, grab that free resource. I make it available for anybody who logs on, and that little pop-up will come up. And then, of course, on occasion, I email video marketing tips. I'm not a crazy emailer, so you don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, well, I'm going to be on our email list. Forget that. I'm supposed to email more, and I don't. So then Facebook, I believe it's Julie Altemus, and Instagram is Jules Altemus TV. So one of these days I'll get all the names right. There's a story behind rebranding, and then I changed my mind. So some of the platforms say Jules, Jules, Altemus TV, and then some say Julie Altemus. So connect with me on Facebook. On Facebook, I have 2 profiles, but the one that you want to be on is the one with the black jacket. And then Jules Altemus TV is Instagram.
So make sure we got that right. So the black jacket that we used to promote Julie for this show, that's the one you want to be on Facebook, correct?
Yes, because that's the one that's more business geared toward video and video marketing, and I put personal things on there as well. The other one that I have for Facebook is all real estate focused. We just
You don't want to go to that.
it's not as fun as the other one. So
Yeah. Julie, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your heart for people today. It's been great having you, and super excited about what the Lord's doing in your life. And so thank you for sharing with our viewers today. It's been great.
it's been a lot of fun talking to you and sharing with your audience. And so it's been a pleasure being here.
Awesome. Guys, I hope you've gotten a lot of it. I trust that you do. Just a reminder that Facebook does take down live interviews after 30 days. You may have noticed the last 3 or 4 days that I've been posting older, I say older, back when I started this 60 days ago or so. I've started posting those expired lives, because that's the great news about, just like Julie's interview, it's going to go to our YouTube channel here in just a couple of hours. And then when the 30 days is up, I'll put her interview back up. So you'll always have access to it through our YouTube channel and when I repurpose it back through here. But I just want to remind you guys that your story's not over yet, not by a long shot. If you woke up this morning, it's a blessing. If you got air in your lungs, it's a blessing. God has a purpose for you, and he's not done with your story yet. Be encouraged. Stay strong. You are worthy. Appreciate each one of you. Till next time, God bless.